It's
The
so
part
funny.
in Hook when Robin Williams struggled to say effortlessly was better than their whole show.
Hook's, that's not a easy standard to meet. But
That's
Hook
true.
is good.
It was a great movie. That's
All
how
right,
we'll
man.
start the show.
Let's yeah, then we can fine.
Just talk
That's good.
about Hook every fun Hook fact every week.
So, okay, so let's get into it. Let's go ahead and talk about the game. This is our follow up.
We need a pause so I can edit in. Unless we're coming in off of the Hook talk hot.
Well, we were.
Okay, well we can. We
No,
still will.
we're good.
All
We're
this
good.
is
We're
in. All this is in the video.
No, I was frozen. All right,
All right,
you know
guys,
what?
This is all. In the
This
video.
isn't about Jonathan anymore.
Or Hook.
Okay.
Or Hook.
No, it might still be. Jury's out on Hook. If there's
Let us
a
know
Hook
in the comments. Do you want
yeah.
unfiltered, in-your-face Hook chat?
If there is a Hook themed indie game, let us know in the chat.
There are
it could
Hook
even be
games. I don't think they're indie games.
Well, that's fair. Yeah,
I don't
the Super
know who
Nintendo
made
game
them.
was real fun. I love that game.
Yeah,
Actually.
I vaguely remember them being good games. I never owned them. I could find one somewhere. I don't know how
never
expensive
know.
that would be.
Jonas pickups number 2. We'll see.
It's all Hook. It's all just Hook on VHS, Hook on DVD.
Found this
Blu-ray
bad boy in a
Hook.
dumpster. It's like the Hook poster, but it's half eaten by rats. Nice. So for today's episode, we're talking about Before Your Eyes. Was that? That's the right
correct.
name. Okay, good. Nailed
Yes,
it. Okay.
Episode building 101. Know the name of your game. I think we're on episode 3, and in 2 of the episodes,
Nailing
we
it.
beat the name.
Nailing it. So Before Your Eyes, we had our video discussing the basic information of the game, including the team behind it, and we both played it start to finish, one sitting each, and we are here to talk about our review, some basic points we have on the game. And I think to do it justice and to give our real insights, we're going to go ahead and start with the bad things first, just because it's very difficult to not fawn over the experience that this game was for both of us. So
Yep.
as far as the first bad point, I'll get into the one, and both of us kind of talked about it. Eye calibration. This gameplay it's very unique. It is. We looked it up even to kind of establish the genre. It is an adventure game, but you interact and play and click through and interact with the world via the mouse and your eyelids using the camera. So using your eyes to move through the world. There are certain prompts that allow you to do that, and you learn very quickly to get into it. However, to get to that point, the game has to calibrate your eyes and when you blink. Now, for me, I have congenital ptosis, which means that my left eyelid doesn't work, and I was worried that might be an issue.
You know, that
Jonathan,
did not occur to me that might be an issue for you. Yeah.
Sure, that's fine. You have glasses, which
So we have
were also
one functional eye between the two of us.
There we go. So the calibration, I have to say, the first time I booted up the game to play it, took a long time. I actually gave it 15 or 16 different tries, and it still didn't work. However, this was at night. I was a little tired. I thought maybe I will give it a try next, when there's more natural light during the day. And lo and behold, when I booted it up around 10 in the morning and played it and calibrated it using my camera, then it worked fine and I didn't have any issues. What about you, John? I know you said had some struggle.
So going back a little bit here, when you're talking about what genre it is, I would say the closest thing that I could compare this to as far as an adventure game would be almost like a walking simulator without the walking. There's not really much in the way of controls in the game besides just blinking. There's a little bit of mouse movement there, not a whole lot, mostly just to turn your character's head or things like that. You're not really clicking on anything besides, to start the game.
Right.
But don't let that discourage you if you're not a walking simulator person. I think that this game is a very unique experience and you should try it regardless. Going back to the camera issues, I also had a little bit of trouble setting it up. So the first night that I wanted to play it, I got everything set up, got it installed, had my webcam on. I use my webcam all day, pretty much every day for my job. I know it's working, I know it's functioning. Turn on the game, I just get a black screen for it. Like there's a little box in the game that says like this is where your camera should be. Nothing. I just see like a little strip of color on the top and bottom. I tried changing the source that it's coming from, got a gray box, didn't work. I tried restarting the game, didn't work. I did that multiple times and then just gave up and said I'll do it the next night. Came back to the game maybe 2 days later, did it again. I backed out to the main menu, unplugged my camera, plugged it back in, went back into the game. It worked just fine. Didn't have any trouble after that point. The eye tracking worked really well for me. There are a few points in the beginning of the game where they will have you do, before you jump into the story, they will have you do some calibration to make sure that your blinking is matched, that you're not blinking too quickly. They tell you blink at a natural pace, but when someone tells you that, you automatically blink at an unnatural pace.
Right. As soon as you
you're
think about
focused
it,
on
right?
Yeah.
You're just like,
it's like when
"Oh."
someone tells you like you're thinking about breathing and you're like, oh, am I breathing? How does this work? But it worked just fine for me. There were a couple parts in the game where the mechanics kind of switch up a little bit and they want you to close your eyes and wait for a while, and the game won't progress unless it tracks that your eyes are closed. And I did have problems with those parts. Nothing major. Fortunately, during those sections, the game does not progress unless your eyes are closed. And so I didn't miss anything because of it. It would have been very disappointing if that had been the case. Now, Victor did not have any problems with this from what we talked about earlier.
At all.
And so part of me is wondering if it's because I wear glasses that the game was having trouble detecting that, because when you calibrate the game, it does ask you if you're wearing glasses and does something to adjust to that. Now, I did look at the page for this game before we started this video, and there was a patch that came out a couple days ago or a few days ago after both of us had already played it that said that they added some functionality for some webcams and stuff like that. So perhaps that won't be the case when you play, but I did have some minor hiccups. Overall, nothing that broke the game, nothing that really broke the immersion, just a minor inconvenience, but you might have to do some fiddling around with the controls when you first get in. So
yeah,
just be aware.
Setting it up seems like it was a bit of an issue, but then again, same here. Once I got into the game, I had zero issues with controlling it start to finish, which was nice.
It actually felt like very intuitive for a kind of control scheme that I'd never seen before. I've never seen a game that you play by blinking and by looking around.
Right.
And it worked excellently. Like partway through the game, you don't even think about it anymore. You're just experiencing the ride of the story.
Totally. And one thing I didn't think about that we didn't discuss beforehand, but I'm now thinking about is if you have a nice stereo speaker setup, use it. Otherwise, probably want to use headphones of some kind.
Yes, that is correct.
Because the immersive factor relies heavily on audio clues as well. Those are a big part of the game. And I was just thinking, man, if I just played on speakers behind my monitor, it might have been a lesser experience. So
for sure,
that's probably good to know.
I'm going to say this as we're jumping into the good points here, because that's really the only negative thing that I can say about this game. When you play this game, make it an event. Set aside about an hour and a half to 2 hours. It took me about an hour and a half to play through the game. Set aside about an hour and a half as if you were going to a movie theater. Make sure that you're alone. Make sure that you're not going to be disturbed. As Victor mentioned, get some headphones. Make sure you're in the zone for it. Play it in one sitting. I would not recommend stopping this game partway through. It is an experience that I think you will cheapen it if you get up in the middle of it. I think the game is best served in one sitting.
I don't necessarily think you have to be alone per se, but if you are going to have people in the room, you should still, at least as the player, be focused on interacting with the game throughout its entirety from start to finish. And on that note, if you look away from the screen, that counts as blinking as it registers with your camera. So
yes,
it will be difficult to play it with multiple people. But I did see in the reviews, a couple of people played it with friends, and they seem to say it was a great experience.
You can also pause it. If you hit the space bar, it will turn off the blinking.
True. That's true.
which I didn't use. I wanted
I
to get the
didn't.
full experience of it, but you
Yeah.
can turn it off, and you can actually play the game where you don't blink. I don't know why you would do that, but you can play it where you click on your mouse to progress. But I wouldn't
Well,
recommend doing it that way. But
Well, let's be fair here. If you are a person who might need some more time to get through the game, or perhaps somebody who has, who is impaired in some other way, the game is able to be played simply by being able to maneuver the cursor. So, not
that's true.
to
Yeah.
disparage people who might otherwise be unable to interact with the game.
That's true. I think that you should still play it if that's the only way that you can. Absolutely, I think accessibility is important in games for sure. But if you have the ability to play it without having to use the mouse controls or pause the game, I would recommend doing it that way if you can. Of course.
Great. Yeah, and also, before we get into the good points, let's be clear here. We haven't talked about the story much. We are
We're
not
not
going to
going
spoil
to.
it. We're not. Sorry. Do you want to see spoilers? You want to see someone else play through it? There are plenty of videos already out, and that's fine. I actually streamed my playthrough of it, and I'm considering posting it or just letting it disappear into the wind, because realistically, this game will not be as much fun if you don't go through it yourself.
Yeah.
And, it's just true.
Don't look
One of the-
anything up on this game in terms of the
Please
story
don't.
before you go
Do
in.
not.
Don't ruin it for yourself.
Go do it blind. Don't even read some of the reviews. Do your best to avoid them if you can.
This is
the only one. This
thing
is the
that
review.
you should listen to.
That's right. Right
And
here.
You should probably listen to it like 7 times and
Yeah.
make sure that you're telling other people to listen to it 7 times, and make
If you have
multiple YouTube
alternative
to
accounts
listen to
with
it.
YouTube, use them, subscribe, and also like it with each of those.
Yes.
Just for this game's sake. Not for us, really. For the game.
Really, it's so that we gain the attention of NordVPN and Raid Shadow Legends, so we can make that YouTube dosh.
We're working on it. So,
All right, well let's jump into the good things about this game, because there are a lot. But yeah, go ahead, Victor. You started us off on this one.
bam, good things about this game. I want to say, first and foremost, soundtrack is fantastic. I'd say that's kind of a staple of a lot of indie games and a lot of indie games are based around the music that drives the narrative or are
music's
rhythm-based
a big
games,
part
in
of this,
general.
and
Yeah,
they do it excellently.
Oh,
I don't
man.
want to spoil how you interact with it, because again, I want you to kind of go in blind. But the way they do it was really clever and creative, and felt pretty immersive. Felt really like you were interacting with the music in the game, which was very cool.
This game does have some replay value, and it wasn't until my second run through when I realized that the pacing and the tone set by the music was as powerful in some scenes as it was. And that just, it's so it's just such a small, it's not really a small, I would say it's a really impactful part of the design of the game that lends to the wonderful experience that it was to play it. So
Absolutely.
music is fantastic.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
I'll jump into mine then if you're done with that.
Yeah,
one.
on
I
the
agree.
sound note,
I
on the
second
sound
that.
note, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I would also say, along with the music, the voice work in this game is excellent. So
Yes, yeah.
if you missed the setup video that we had for this one, the pre-show, if it were, we had the conversation that this is about a boy's life. You're kind of playing through his life, and when you're blinking, you're jumping ahead through his timeline. And one of the things that they did is they got voice actors that just sounded very genuine and very real. I really felt like the voices connected. They sounded like real people. I know that oftentimes when you're playing video games, you kind of hit the extremes of the people who are trying too hard and the people who are not trying hard enough, right? And I felt like this game captured it really well. You felt a connection with the people. They were endearing. You really felt like you were experiencing a part of this kid's life, and I thought that it was good. I would really say that most indie games don't have voice acting of that caliber, and I think it's understated. I think it's subtle, but I think they did an excellent job with that.
Yeah, I agreed. And and not to say there isn't a little campiness sometimes, but at those times it was appropriate. Like again, without spoiling it, very enjoyable, and the voice acting, all in all, just audibly a wonderful experience, with the music and everything, and it was good, really good.
For sure.
So that brings me to the next point that we talked about, was the experience of the game, without spoiling anything, again, is about the boy's life and his life up, his growth from because life to you're reliving his memories, right?
Yeah, they tell you very early in the game that you are in the afterlife.
And you're in the afterlife,
reflecting on this person's life from literally you start when you're a baby and you go from there.
Yes, and the nostalgia factor it's so well done. It's so well done. You're brought into these memories, and it feels like I'm back into my memories. It reminds me of my experiences growing up, and my experiences with relationships, and my experiences with different struggles and important, tense situations where I made choices. And those, going through those and making those again, it connects not just to, me to this character, but to myself. And man, what a cool experience.
Victor mentioned this when we were talking about this with all the spoilers and stuff, just with each other before we jumped in, that he said it felt like at parts just reliving his life, right? Like reliving his childhood. And I completely agree. I feel like when you're playing this game, you're kind of doing two things at the same time. You're playing through this character's life and experiencing the things that he experiences. But at each beat in this story, I just pictured things that happen in my own life, experiences and memories that were very special to me that I hadn't thought about in years, in decades in some cases. And it was just a really cool experience. It left me, when the credits rolled on this game, it felt like I had experienced something special by myself, with my memories, with my stuff on top of the story of the game. And I think that that's very hard to do. And they nailed it. They completely nailed it. I think it would be you'd be very hard pressed to play this game and not walk away with some semblance of nostalgia or reminiscence on your own life and your own memories. And I think that, again, games don't generally go that route, but this one did it very well.
Yes, 100%. And that's why we can say definitively, buy it, play it, totally worth it.
100%. I would say this game, using our scale, it is exactly one Big Mac combo in Canada.
That's right. Yeah.
Skip the Big Mac, buy this game.
You can. You need to skip a Big Mac or two. I got to skip a few myself. So you can use that money. Bam. Throw it at this game. Well worth it.
It is excellent. I would say, of the games that we've played so far, this is the hardest recommendation I can give. It is an excellent game. It is an excellent experience. And I think that it's something everyone who values games or considers games to have the potential to be art should experience at some point. Absolutely.
Wholeheartedly agree. That's great. Yeah. And that's it, guys. We're keeping it relatively short this time around. Just enjoy life, and if you want to experience life on a heightened and more expressive level, you will the moments after you finish playing this game. So that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm going to leave with that. Man.
Let us know what you think about it in the comments. Don't post any spoilers if you played the game. But feel free to hit us up in a private message if you want to share your experience with the game.
Yeah, sure.
Interested in it. Thank you guys very much. We'll hit you up with the next one. I think the next one on our list is There Is No Game, I believe is the name of it. Again, I guess that's our thing, is butchering names of games we're going to play. But I believe that's the next one. Look forward to the pre-show on that one coming out soon. Thank you guys so much for watching Indies Nuts. Make sure you do all the YouTube stuff that you're supposed to, like, subscribe, all that stuff. And we will see you next time for our next episode, guys.
See you next time. Bye.
You're watching Indies Nuts. My name is Jonathan. I'm joined, as always, by...
We got it. We got it, dude.
That's the intro. That's the one.
Got my kalimba here, dude. We're doing
very, it. Very accurate. Very accurate.
Yeah, of course. That was Rains in the Misty Jungle by South African separatist artist Njaka Klakahu.
Who picks the music for those shows? I want to know. I want to know.
Yeah, dude, right?
Whoever.
Funny thing about
Njaka,
yeah, he only has 3 fingers left.
Not because of an accident. He was born that way. Shame on you for thinking of ableist is what you are.